In the late 14th century state of Joseon, the kingdom is ruled by a troubled king, scarred and unstable since childhood, when his mother tragically was forced to take her own life by poison. In this same land lives a young man named Gong-gil, a low-born clown whose beauty is said to rival a delicate flower. His skin is flawless, like a girl's, and his waist is so impossibly narrow it makes every beholder long to hold him. When he performs in plays, often taking on female roles, his stunning appearance ignites lustful desires in the eyes of the men who watch. Indeed, Gong-gil's mannerisms, subtle charms, and soft way of speaking are all utterly endearing, just like a woman's. He performs alongside Jang Sang, a fellow clown who, though not related by blood, is a fiercely protective older brother figure to Gong-gil. Their troupe master, however, treats them as property. Whenever the troupe master is seen quietly speaking with a guest, indicating a deal is being made for Gong-gil's body, Jang Sang immediately throws himself from the tightrope in protest, disrupting the show. He knows the troupe master is trying to sell Gong-gil for money. That night, as expected, the troupe master calls for Gong-gil. Jang Sang tries to stop him, yelling, "You must not go!" The troupe master, furious, asks if Jang Sang wishes to die, and begins to beat him. Even as he's beaten, Jang Sang desperately grabs Gong-gil's leg, begging him not to leave. Unable to watch his friend suffer, Gong-gil prepares to go to the guest, but Jang Sang blocks his path. Gong-gil is even willing to go. "Who are you to interfere?" The troupe master snarls, before bringing a heavy brass bowl down on Jang Sang's head. When Jang Sang wakes, he storms into the guest's room and drags Gong-gil out. "You two are teaching each other how to rebel, are you?" the troupe master shouts, grabbing a weapon to break Jang Sang's leg. In that instant, Gong-gil snatches a sharp object from a bystander and slashes the employer across the back. Shaking uncontrollably, barely understanding what he had just done, Gong-gil is pulled away by Jang Sang, and they flee. They run aimlessly, their stomachs soon rumbling with hunger. They have no plan where to go or how to eat. Jang Sang picks up a stick and pretends to be blind. Gong-gil instantly catches on and pretends to be blind as well. "Hey, aren't you the blind Gan from the village over there?" "Yes." "And aren't you the blind Gong?" "Aigu. I'm so happy to see you." They run to embrace, but miss each other. "I'm over here. Are you over there?" they ask, trying again. They miss again. Finally, they turn towards the sound of each other's voice and pull each other into a warm, silent hug. After a moment, Jang Sang declares, "Let's go to Hanyang." Upon reaching Hanyang, they see three brothers performing a small play. "They want money for that?" Jang Sang scoffs. "Watch me." He and Gong-gil perform a spectacular, acrobatic duet. The crowd cheers wildly, showering them with coins. As they heartily eat the food they bought with their earnings, the three brothers, eyes full of envy, introduce themselves, saying they can be called Brother 6, Brother 7, and Brother 8. Jang Sang asks where the biggest theater in Hanyang is. Brother 6 replies, "Don't you know? The king drove out half the city to make a hunting ground. Who would come to a big theater anymore?" Later, the brothers take Jang Sang to a gambling house. A woman checking her cards wishes herself, "May I have the luck of Naksu?" Jang Sang asks who Naksu is. "Naksu? She's the queen who has even the king under her skirt," she is told. Jang Sang loses all his money in the card game, courtesy of Brother 6. Brother 6 then calls him leader and suggests they repeat the performance tomorrow to earn money again. Jang Sang agrees. "If that's the case, you must do as I say. We will mock the king." The three brothers are terrified. Isn't that an idea that will lead them straight to the executioner's block? Jang Sang dismisses their fear. How hard can it be to mock a king who is forced to kneel before a woman? The next day, Gong-gil and Jang Sang perform a highly scandalous play, mocking the king and his queen, Noksu. The skit ends with the king and queen Noksu meeting when they bump backsides while the king is urinating and Noksu is using the chamber pot and falling in love. The audience loves it. The three brothers are ecstatic, their eyes on the pile of money. "Let's do this again tomorrow. We'll make money every single day." The next day, royal guards arrive. The performers are beaten and dragged off, weeping. Jang Sang defiantly asks, "The king is mocked by everyone, from children to dogs alike. What is wrong with our joke? If the king laughs at our play, will you pardon us? Minister Choshon, impressed by Jeongsang's boldness, brings the troupe in front of the king. In the royal court, the three brothers are paralyzed with fear. They can't laugh or play like before. One loses his drumstick and the others stammer and look distraught. They resemble beggars rattling their instruments in the silent, imposing hall. The king's face is stone. It is Gong Gil who saves the moment, his narrow waist swaying as he dances to stabilize the performance. Jeongsang, holding a doll, sings, "This child looks just like me." Gong Gil retorts, "Everyone knows that's not your son, only you don't." When Jeongsang asks who the child's father is, Gong Gil stands on his hands in a handstand, a clear, provocative hint. The king finally bursts into hearty laughter. He looks intently at Gong Gil. That day, the king proclaims the troupe royal court clowns. The three brothers are saved from execution and feast heartily on the king's bounty. The king plays with Queen Naksu in his chambers, performing small skits. Naksu complains, "Your Majesty, you stare at the one who plays my role so intently, your eyes might pop out." The ministers protest, arguing that such vulgar, low-born clowns should not be allowed to perform in the royal court. Minister Choshon tries to calm the king. The king snaps, "Am I a king, or am I bound by the rules of my dead father?" When Jeongsang hears that the ministers still want them out, despite the king's protection, he mutters, "We were fools to come to a king with so little real power." Minister Choseon challenges him, "You dare to mock the king, but you do not dare to mock the ministers?" Jeongsang announces auditions to recruit more clowns. When the three brothers notice how similar Jeongsang and Gong Gil's handwriting is, Jeongsang reveals he meticulously taught himself to imitate Gong Gil's script. Diverse performers arrive for the audition, much to Gong Gil's delight. This time, the troupe performs a play mocking the corrupt ministers. Not only are they taking bribes, but they are also sleeping with the wives of their subordinates. One minister in the audience breaks into a cold sweat, his guilt exposed. The king is laughing uproariously. In a dramatic gesture, the king removes his royal crown and offers it to Jeongsang as a bribe, acting out the performance. Jeongsang is terrified, afraid to take the crown, but also afraid to refuse. "I don't want this. Bring me something like this instead," he pleads. The king pulls his queen, Noksu, to him, and Jeongsang immediately stands up to dance. The king and queen join in, while the ministers look on, horrified at their king's descent into madness. The king then confronts the sweating minister, asking why he looks so guilty. When the minister begs for his life, the king demotes him and orders his fingers to be severed. The light-hearted fun has turned bloody. Brother 6 moans, "If we stay here any longer, we're going to die for nothing." Brother 7 says, "The king is still laughing. What is there to worry about?" Brother 8, looking at the brooding Jeongsang, observes, "I wonder why the king keeps calling for Gong Gil." In the king's chambers, Gong Gil entertains the king with puppet stories. The king takes a puppet and joins in the play. Jeongsang waits up for Gong Gil, unable to sleep. This time, he cannot simply storm into the room and drag his friend out, cause the one calling for Gong Gil is the king, the absolute ruler. The king starts to neglect Queen Naksu, spending more and more time with Gong Gil. Sometimes, in a manic state, the king tells stories while Gong Gil quietly listens. Hearing the tragic details of the king's troubled youth, the soft-hearted Gong Gil begins to feel pity for him. Jeongsang asks Minister Choshon why the king keeps summoning Gong Gil. The minister warns him, "Whomever the king seeks for amusement, it is not your concern." Jeongsang gets drunk, waiting for Gong Gil to return, and tells him, "Let's leave here." Gong Gil agrees. "We can leave if you want to, but I want to perform the play that Minister Choseon requested first." On the night of the performance, the king's grandmother and the late king's 2 concubines are in the audience. Jeongsang confirms with Gong Gil, "We're leaving after this play, right?" The play begins with the 2 concubines, singing about how the king hasn't visited them in days and wishing he would come to their chambers. Seeing the king only goes to his favorite concubine, they complain of the unfairness to the king's mother, now the king's grandmother. The 2 former concubines in the audience whisper, "Are they performing our story?" The king's grandmother watches with a deep frown. The play reaches the scene where the favorite concubine is falsely accused of adultery and commanded to drink poison and kill herself. The ministers look horrified. The king begins to shake, recalling how his own mother was forced to die. As the actress playing the concubine collapses from the poison, the king, in a frenzy, rushes out, calling out "Mother!" and embraces Gong-gil, who is playing the role. Realizing the situation has spiraled out of control, the two former royal concubines try to flee. "You killed my mother!" the king screams, attacking them. When his grandmother tries to intervene, he violently shoves her away. He runs his sword through the two concubines. The grandmother suffers a fatal stroke and collapses. The ministers tremble in fear, watching their king descend into inhuman madness. Zhang Song tells the three brothers to pack, insisting they must leave this chaotic palace immediately. Even when Gong-gil says he wants to leave, the king ignores him and promotes him. Queen Naksu, unable to tolerate this, begins to cause a scene. The king, guarding Gong-gil, drags Naksu out of the chamber. Zhang Song looks at the silk official's robe on Gong-gil and asks, "Did you never plan to leave? No matter what, you were going to sell your body, so you decided to sell it to the king instead, is that it?" Gong-gil tells him not to speak carelessly. Zhang Song stares at him a moment and leaves without another word. Ignoring the funerals, the king insists on holding an official ceremony to bestow Gong-gil's new title. The ministers protest and suggest a royal hunt instead, to calm the king's mind. During the hunt, the clowns are forced to wear animal costumes and run through the forest. When the king and Gong-gil are separated, two ministers fire real arrows at Gong-gil, trying to assassinate him. Zhang Song chases after them to stop the attack. He tackles one minister just as he aims at Gong-gil. The other minister, however, releases his arrow. Brother Six shoves Gong-gil out of the way and takes the arrow himself. Just then, the king arrives and kills the minister who shot the arrow. The dying minister curses him. "Heaven will not forgive your cruelty," Brother Six, with his dying breath, laments. "We should have left when the leader told us to." The king destroys everyone around him. He kills people one after another, his sanity slipping further. He forces Gong-gil to reenact the hunting scene. Overwhelmed, Gong-gil collapses, and the king kisses him. Queen Naksu, realizing the depth of the situation, plots to eliminate Gong-gil. She finds someone who can perfectly imitate Gong-gil's handwriting and commissions a scandalous letter mocking the king. A king consumed by lust, who spends his time with clowns and placing women on his lap. She presents the letter to the king, blaming Gong-gil. At that moment, Gong-gil is trying to stop Zhang Song, who is preparing to leave the palace. Gong-gil has grown fond of the king's favor, yet he doesn't want Zhang Song to leave. "You've gone mad," Zhang Song screams, furiously tearing down the tightrope they once performed on. The king and Naksu arrive. When she accuses Gong-gil of writing the letter, Zhang Song laughs uproariously. Would a man favored by the king write a letter to mock him? "I wrote it." He proves his claim by demonstrating his identical handwriting. The king, certain his beloved Gong-gil is innocent, orders Zhang Song's immediate execution by beheading. Minister Choseon tries to reason with the king one last time. "I brought these clowns in to show you the corruption of your palace, but now you are obsessed with one of those men. And the palace is running with blood. If only your late father could see this." The king cuts him off, ordering him to leave immediately. Defeated, the minister, who cannot change the king, decides to set Zhang Song free himself and tell Zhang Song to not think about Gong-gil anymore. Gong-gil begs all night long for Zhang Song's life to be spared. Zhang Song, undeterred by death, climbs the tightrope and begins to perform a play. The king, intrigued, listens intently. Zhang Song narrates, "I grew tired of sleeping with women, so I became consumed by the desire to swallow up a young man." At that line, the king emerges and shoots an arrow at Zhang Song. As Zhang Song falls from the rope, the king rushes over, sword in hand, intending to kill him personally. Gong-gil steps in front of Zhang Song. "Your Majesty, please do not stain your hand with the blood of such a base human," the king demands. "Fine, then you kill him," Gong-gil replies. "Please kill me instead." The king stares at Gong-gil's devotion and, instead of killing Zhang Song, orders his eyes to be branded out with a hot iron. The ministers, unable to tolerate the king's recklessness over a single man, gather to plot a rebellion. They ask Minister Choseon to join, but he refuses. He goes home and hangs himself. The king continues to destroy everyone around him. Gong-gil, too, tries to take his own life by slashing his wrist. As Gong-gil collapses, the king goes to Queen Noksu. She calls him a fool and lifts her skirt, and the king crawls under it. The king, lost in indulgence, then orders the blind Jung Song to climb and perform on the tightrope. Jung Song stumbles onto the rope and performs the final play of his life. I came to Hanyang and was blinded by the glistening monies. Then I came here and was made completely blind, unaware that a thief had stolen my heart. If I had known this was how it would be, I would have chosen to be blind from the start. Gong-gil, screaming and crying, begs him to come down. Jang Sang laughs. Look at this impudent mouth. I am the king of this palace. At that, Gong-gil also climbs the tightrope. Yes, I wanted to see the king at least one time, he replies, joining the performance. Rebels storm the palace. The king and his queen sit motionless, watching Gong-gil and Jung Sung. Gong-gil asks Jung Sung, "In the next life, do you want to be a landowner or a king?" Jung Sung replies, "I want to be nothing but a clown again." And asks, "And what about you?" Gong-gil smiles. "A clown, of course." "Then, in the next life, we will meet again as clowns and be truly happy," Jung Sung says. The rebels push through the doors and rush into the court. Gong-gil and Jung Sung embrace on the tightrope, the symbol of their dignity and their life, as their existence in this world comes to a tragic end.